Hi, I'm Crystal,
And I'm Tara.
and you're listening to the Rom-Com Detectives. Welcome to Rom-Com Detectives, episode 16, A Third Boob. Today, Tara and I will be talking about the 6th episode of Lucifer Season 1, Favorite Son. This episode originally aired on February 29, 2016, and was written by Jason Ning and directed by David Paymer. We're going to start with the case briefing. The victim in this one was a security guard named Erwin Scoville. Cause of death was strangulation. The motive was theft. And then there was a pretty noticeable guest star for this one in Tom Sizemore. When I was doing my first watch to Lucifer and I saw this episode, I was like, "Oh, it's Tom Sizemore!" Like for younger people, like he was a pretty big movie star. He was in things from like Saving Private Ryan and Black Hawk Down, and probably the most memorable for me was Heat.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was looking him up, I learned that he passed away in 2023.
Oh, that's sad. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he had a brain aneurysm, so it wasn't.
Ugh.
It was something that was sudden. But
Yeah.
it looked like he still has self credited in 2024. So it seemed like he was acting a lot all the way up until the end. So yeah, he was a busy guy.
He was.
And then there was Teach Grant, who was on Rush, the Tom
Mm-hmm.
Ellis show, and he's on the new show that I think is on Paramount Plus. It's called Happy Face. I get,
I've
I
lost
get,
track of all of the
I get,
shows and all of the streaming channels, so I have no
I get
idea.
Peacock and Paramount confused because they both start with P, but I think it's Paramount. Alrighty, shall we get to the episode breakdown?
Yes.
Okay, so this one opens with a combination of scenes of a warehouse and Lucifer singing Cinderman. And I believe this is the first time we see him singing, right? Like we've seen him playing the piano, but
Yeah.
not singing, right?
I thought that too. And also, I mean, it's a real it's a real performance because it's like the
Yeah.
entire song. Yeah.
I like his singing, but I don't really care for the song. It's just not
Mm-hmm.
my favorite genre of music, but he
Mm-hmm.
sounds really good to me. So, and something to note is that this thing of Lucifer playing the piano in the nightclub that he founded is from the comics. And I actually went and I dug our Sandmans out and I
Nice.
found this in Kindly Ones where there's like a scene at one of the later, I think it was actually maybe the last one in that graphic novel. But Delirium goes to see Lucifer. He's at his grand piano and he's talking about singing and things like that. But in the warehouse, a security guard who's looking after something of Lucifer's because he mentioned something about the Morning Star thing, and then he
Yeah.
gets attacked and choked to death. So the next day, Chloe is interrogating someone. Oh my god. And
It's
it's
very
Trixie.
serious.
Oh my
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
goodness. This was such a cute scene. She's asking if she's the one who ate the chocolate cake, and Trixie just gives her this dead ass stare with chocolate frosting all over her face and just says, no.
This episode is about lying.
And like this Dan is there and he snickers from the kitchen, and I liked him in this scene because it's just one of those things that like as a parent you just can't help but laugh at, especially when it's not your kid.
Yeah.
When it's not
I
your
also
kid,
just
it's totally hilarious.
genuinely enjoy that Chloe's like face like in the background too, like when Dan goes to talk to Trixie and gets her to tell the truth, and she's just like, "What?"
What the? But then I love how
Or
that dynamic quickly shifts because then she says, Lucifer said it was okay. And then suddenly
Mhm.
Dan's the one who's like, what?
Yep, yep.
Oh, God, Trixie.
Trixie is probably the sneakiest and cleverest character in the entire show.
As she shows later on in the episode, oh my
It shows
god.
later on.
But so there's a continuity thing here. Her birthday seems to have just happened because I mean you don't leave leftover cake in the fridge for that long, right?
No.
Um, but she was 7 in the pilot and then 8 in episode 2. And so since we can usually wave off details in pilots, does that mean she was 8 and she's now 9? We'll have to pay attention
The
to
weird thing
mentions of
is,
her of her
yeah,
age.
because her age is so confusing, and especially at this, like in this season, she seems so young,
Yeah.
and then she kind of ages, a lot more. Like it's hard. I don't know. Like to me, she
Yeah.
still seems, 7, 8, because yeah. So I don't know, but she's got many birthdays apparently.
So next, Chloe reminds Dan that it's Taco Tuesday tomorrow, but he says he can't make it because he has a stakeout. And Chloe is snarky at him because I don't know. I guess he does this a lot, and it's like an ongoing thing with them.
We definitely get the sense that we know what led to the separation
Yeah.
between them.
But then she gets a call about a case, and then go to Lux, and Maze brings 2 Britneys to Lucifer. And it's funny because these 2 ladies have like what 20 seconds of screen time, but
Yep,
people talk about the Britneys all the time.
all the time. Although I feel like later the Britneys come back.
Do
Like
they?
I feel like I feel like it becomes something of a kind of joke, but maybe I could be wrong. I don't.
I mean,
We'll be on
I
Britney
don't
watch.
remember. It's been a while since I
Yeah,
rewatched.
but
So
yes, the Britneys definitely made it into like fanon lore
yeah.
because they just show up all the time.
But Maze is shocked because he says he has to go to work, and so this whole devil going to work thing is just not working for her.
At all.
But apparently it's not working for him either because he shows up, and this is something that I find funny all the time. I think it's always in this show, and I might have seen it in other shows too. But he shows up at a scene fixing up his clothes, like he literally like he didn't just drive there and then get out of the car and walk over there. He's just fixing up his. He just left himself in whatever state he was when he
Disheveled.
left.
Yes.
When he left Lux, and he's only fixing himself up as he approaches Chloe.
I think it's really funny because I absolutely thought the same thing while watching it this time. I was like, as if he just got into his car and was like still untucked and everything. Like, especially since I feel like as he leaves Lux, he's already like kind of putting himself back together again. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
did we just pause while we drove? Like, I don't.
You have to cut out the long
Yeah,
traffic drive in LA.
exactly. Exactly. He had the top down, so he like got re-disheveled. So now
Oh,
he's,
yes. Okay. That
he
explains
stood
it.
up too fast and his shirt came untied. I don't. Maybe he had sex with someone just before he came in. Like we don't know. It's Lucifer. Like
He he actually invited one of the Britneys. She's in the back of the car.
exactly. It was like kind of a quick Brittany. It's fine.
So Chloe walks him through what they know so far, but he's so distracted by the crime scene toys. He's like shining a light in her face, and then he declares that the murder's too boring and he's gonna leave, which really pisses Chloe off.
Yeah,
And I thought he was pretty brutal here with the things he says. I think he says, "Call me when you have a murder with a pulse, or at least someone who's better looking." I was like,
yeah,
ouch.
yeah.
That's
Every
low,
once in a
Lucifer.
while, there's like, Lucifer. Jeez, these are all
Yeah.
human beings. God.
But he but
um,
he is devil,
yeah,
right? So we have to kind of just be like, oh, okay,
yeah.
that's awkward, but that's him. So
Plus, clearly, his ADHD is really off the charts at that moment, and
yeah,
he just
yeah.
does not want to be in the boring situation. So, yeah,
But he gets back to Lux, and Maze looks concerned, and she tells him that the container that he went to go investigate with Chloe, that he just rejected, was actually his container. And this is like a episode long tease of what's in the container. They don't say what it is, just that it means a lot to Lucifer, and by association Maze because she's in charge of it. So
Bum, bum, bum.
I don't remember what I thought when I was first watching. I must have figured it out at some point, but I don't remember what it was.
Me either.
I was definitely intrigued though.
Well, yeah, and I think that it plays really well with Chloe's sort of perspective throughout the episode because she's very, like, she wants to know as much as the audience does.
Yeah. She really picks at it. She's kind
Yeah.
of obsessed with what's in his container throughout the
Hmm.
episode.
Hey, baby, what's in your container?
But Maze is worried, and the only way she can get him to care about it, because he kind of brushes it off and he's like, never mind, I don't need it. But then she gets him to care by, I guess, teasing him and saying that it's a blow to his reputation, that it's okay to steal for him now, and he falls for it.
Of course.
He is very malleable in certain people's hands. And
Yes.
Maze really knows how to like push him in the right ways for certain things. Like she can't get him to like want to go back to hell, but she can get him to do this.
She knows his like tender spots, I think.
So Lucifer goes back to the warehouse, and I gotta say, I think it's probably like 1 hour each way with traffic that he's had to drive. It must
I
just be.
guess if you're the devil, like everyone gets out of your way in traffic. Like, let's just assume people suddenly feel like they need to get over into the other lane.
It must be so nice to live in a TV show. Yeah, there's no traffic to sit through.
Exactly.
You just show up from one
And I
second to
just
the
I feel
next.
like it's one of those things where audiences, like when they haven't experienced the thing, like I have experienced LA traffic. Like it's not fun and you sit and you just don't like you give up hours of your day. It's not just like, oh, and then I was there. I just went around the corner. No.
I mean, Hawaii has really bad traffic too because
Hmm.
everybody here like has to have their own car. So if you have like a family of four and they're all adults, usually you have four cars. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's pretty bad. But yeah, I remember like when we used to commute, I remember we used to just sit in the car and just get angrier and angrier about sitting in the car. Just oh my
Yeah.
god.
Because it takes so long. And I mean, it's the same, it depending on where you are. Like when I lived in New York, it was the same thing. Like you plan an hour on transit to get anywhere. Like you're not just like, oh, I'll just run down to like the Lower East Side. No, you won't. You'll sit in a crowded, stinky train with everybody else for 45 minutes. That's what you'll do.
This reminds me of a line from Clueless. You've seen Clueless?
Yes.
Yeah. So, the part where Cher is at a party and her dad calls and he's mad and he's like telling her to come home and he says everywhere in LA takes 20 minutes. And even back then, I was like, really?
No,
That doesn't sound right.
no. I mean, maybe in magical TV show land, LA, but no.
I think she
All
was
right.
in the
Sorry.
valley and I think they lived in Beverly Hills.
Yes.
So is
Yeah.
that 20 minutes?
No.
All
I
right.
feel like
All right, let's
it can
get
take
back.
you like,
Let's get let's get
yes,
back to
okay,
track.
traffic report over. Okay.
But yeah, so Lucifer. Wait, where were we? Okay, so this
Oh,
is
he
where
goes
we get.
back to the
This is
warehouse.
yeah. He goes back to the warehouse. So this is where we get our episode title because he says he's back to help, and she's like, "I need your help, like I need a third boob."
Yeah.
I love
And then she
that.
stops herself and she's like,
Wait, never
don't say
mind.
anything. I knew it as soon as it came out of my mouth. And you're like, yeah, you just threw that door wide open. Like, that is not one Lucifer would let pass.
But so Chloe knows, and I guess everybody knows that this warehouse is used to house illegal contraband. So she gets very curious. This is the point where she gets really like set into like wanting to know what he's got in it because, and she's got legitimate concerns because he's basically her partner now, right? So in an unofficial capacity, but she seems to have him on speed dial whenever she has like, I guess because she has no partner. So
Yeah.
when she has a case, she just calls her consultant. So she's
Yes.
like a special case. And also, like, although Dan seems to be like that too, Dan doesn't seem to have a partner, right?
That's true.
Right?
And
Which
I
is
mean,
interesting.
he does have one later
Hmm. Yeah. We'll
because
have to pay
it's an
attention to that.
important character. But Right now, he's partnerless.
So she asks him what it was, and he's pretty evasive. He doesn't lie, but he also like can casually skirt around things, which is like quasi lying, but
Hmm.
it's not like outright lying. He says what's in there is the only thing I brought with me to Los Angeles, but technically
Other
that,
than Maze, I guess.
yeah, I guess. I was gonna say the dolls thing, but maybe that's not something he brought with him. So,
Hmm.
but he does say that they have a lead, or he has a lead. So he takes Chloe to a snow cone truck, and when they get to the front, Lucifer pulls the guy out by his shirt and starts basically strangling him for information.
Hmm.
Lucifer has yet to learn proper interrogation techniques.
Yeah. I mean, his techniques work, but are not condoned, I believe, by the LAPD.
But I did think it was funny that she quickly gets over it once she learns that he's the guy who runs that warehouse and like
Yeah.
he's got information. So she's like, "Ooh, okay,
Yeah, she totally
I
plays
can
bad
get on
cop for
board
a
with this."
second. I was like, ooh, Chloe getting, playing hardball. If I just walk away right now, this
I
guy
guess.
can do whatever he wants to.
But he tells them about Los Diablos, a biker club, and says that he runs the warehouse, but they run the docks. And then, and then they leave, and then they're walking out. And I wanted to note that even though he's just choked the guy for information, he's eating a snow cone after. So I guess he made him make him one before they left.
I mean, even if it is light on the cherry syrup.
Oh, I love that.
I kind of love that this is not the only time. Like Lucifer, whenever they have to go someplace where there's like food, he almost always does end up with
Yes,
the food
yes.
and just like eating it as they talk or walk away. And you're like, priorities, but you know,
Yeah, I mean, I love that he's a foodie.
he is.
And then I also wanted to know because the show I think had by this point moved to Vancouver, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. But this scene was filmed in LA because you can see the Santa Monica Pier behind them, even
Yeah.
though they're supposed to be in Long Beach. But they're definitely at the Santa Monica Pier because you can recognize the coaster and the Ferris wheel in certain buildings and
Yes.
stuff. So which is weird. Like
Much.
how does that work when you film in like
Well, I think that they always, like there's certain things, especially beaches, like whenever they're at a beach, like
mhm,
they can't really fake a California beach in
in
BC. They can
Vancouver?
fake a lot of other things, and they do. And like this episode is full of so many things where I'm like, that's like a random back alley downtown. I know where that is. There's a bookstore right there. But yeah, there's definitely bits and pieces. And I think, in that case, it's probably, they don't do it every episode, and they would only have taken like, because it's really only a person scene too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So it probably is just a small crew, and to remind people, oh yeah, we are in LA.
yeah.
Even though all the rest of the time it's so rainy and green, it's you know,
So finally, Lucifer tells Chloe that what's in the container was a gift from his father, which is another like half truth that he's doing. And she basically kicks him off the keys right there.
yeah,
Then she calls Dan and she asks him for help and wants him to look into Lucifer. And at first, he doesn't realize what she's calling about. He thinks that she's going to call to give him crap about the Taco Tuesday thing. But once he hears that she wants him to go dig into Lucifer, he's like, oh,
he's very excited about it.
yeah.
It takes no twisting of the rubber arm.
But then he goes to Lux, and it's like as soon as he walks up to Maze, you just get this like feeling of utter delight, like, oh my god, something good's gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah,
And oh my
and
god,
it
does it
does.
deliver? Because Maze quickly realizes that he's Chloe's ex, and she asks if their divorce is final, and she shows us that she has absolutely no concept of personal space.
Zero,
She's like
zero.
speaking to him with like 3 inches between their faces.
Hmm. Yeah, she's turning up the flirting to like 11 out of 10, but in her maze kind of like borderline terrifying way. So you're
Yeah. And I love the way that they write her in the first season. She's just so
Yes.
delightfully like sexy and over the line and funny about it
Yeah.
somehow. Cause like he says, I need to see your books, and she says, without any foreplay.
Oh, it's so funny.
It's
Such a
like,
good
how did
line.
she can turn anything into innuendo?
Yes. I understand the skill.
But she lures him into the back, and actually, this is one of the very rare instances where we get to see the back areas of Lux.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that was interesting. But she lures him to the back and knocks him out. Then we go to Lucifer in therapy. Oh my god. I wrote down Lucifer is at a therapy session with Lucifer. That should
He
be
is.
Linda. But yes, he's in
Lucifer
therapy
and
with.
all of his identities. That's what this episode is about.
But this therapy session was really interesting. They talk a lot, and in general, I thought the Linda stuff was really good in this episode.
Me too. Much less. I think really this is one of those things where we really start to see Linda and the whole icky sex for therapy thing starting to go by the wayside. Like they make a couple of innuendo jokes kind of about it, but we are moving toward that no longer being a thing, which is good because,
Yeah, because you can see that this
again,
is the professional side of her, right? The
yeah,
professional side of her who is just fascinated by Lucifer as a patient, less
yes,
about what he can provide her. But basically, she's zeroing in on his identity because she's so fixated on this idea that he doesn't know who he is because she hasn't, obviously for good reason, doesn't believe that he's the devil. So she's just so concerned, I guess, and curious about why he's trying so hard to dig into this persona of the devil. But he gets really uncomfortable. He tries to end the session by saying it's time for her payment, but she actually stops him this time. So it's a turning point for Linda, like you said.
yeah,
She really shows her therapist chops in this episode, I thought,
yeah,
or at least in this part, because I have things to say about her at the end. but
yeah.
I,
Well, at the end, I also have things to say, and also the end has been influenced by others. So,
oh, but she
yeah.
says one of the hardest things we do is be ourselves, and she wants him to tell her who he thinks is the real Lucifer.
Hmm.
But one funny thing I did want to note is that when she stops him, when she actually resists him, she says, "That's for later."
Yeah.
not, not, not. We're not going to do that right now. It's that's for later. We're still going to do this.
Hmm. It's after business hours.
Ah. But yeah, so he gets even more upset by this question, and he goes on the offensive, and he starts insulting her as a therapist. And then
And
at the
this is we're going to learn is peak Lucifer.
yeah,
Like when people get too close to something that hurts him, he goes on the offensive and gets mean,
yeah.
basically. Still true in a lot of ways, the things that he says, but he gets mean.
She tries to tell him that they're making progress, but he insists it's a waste of time, and he storms out. And then right after, there's a knock at the door, and she thinks Lucifer has come back, but it's actually a Menadeo, and he's not subtle at all, right? He's like, as soon
No.
as Lucifer leaves, he's like, zoop, right at her door.
Hello.
It's Dr. Kanan here at your service. But he says the walls are thin, and then cracks a joke about Lucifer's name. And I was just like, what do you mean the walls are thin? She's a therapist. She should have thicker walls.
Yeah. I mean, if the walls are that thin, then
Linda should be like, hey, wait a minute, what? You can hear all my patient conversations as a normal
exactly.
human being, which is what you're supposed to be?
Mhm.
But yeah, so he gives her a Bible quote to lead her to certain things about Lucifer, and he offers to consult for her because he says that he went to seminary school and he knows the Bible inside and out.
It's so, I mean, this is one of the things I like so much about the first season is the contrast between Amenadiel, like actual angel Amenadiel, and actual devil Lucifer, and one is a big fat liar and the other one is not. And you really see in this episode too how completely willing Amenadiel is to say or do anything to get
Anything.
what he wants
Yeah.
and manipulate people and do all the things essentially that Lucifer is always accused of doing.
Yeah. He has no like moral code, it feels like.
None. None.
Okay, so at Chloe's we get treated to the result of Maze's scheme. Dan wakes up completely nude in Chloe's house just as Chloe and Trixie comes home. He hides in Trixie's room after overhearing her vent to her mom about him. I don't know, she's like talking about how like he's so disappointing and that he's not trying, and so
He's never going to change.
yeah. So he's basically hearing that like the separation possibly becoming them back together is slipping through his fingers. So meanwhile,
Mhm.
he's dealing with the fact that he's nude in his daughter's room.
Yep.
and
He's
then he
wearing a pair of pillows.
and then she comes in and she finds him. She said, "Why are you wearing a pillow?"
And this is where we get like Trixie, the queen of
Oh yeah,
all manipulators.
extortionist.
Yes, 100%.
Because he asked her to get him some clothes and don't tell mommy. She's like, but that's lying, and you said lying is bad. He's trying to justify it, but
Hmm.
she sees right through him, and she uses it to get chocolate cake, and not just more chocolate cake. She uses it to get chocolate cake for a whole year.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I
She's
she has
serious.
skills. I mean, she sees the situation and the way she does it by being like, "Mommy, I'm
I know. I'm
thirsty," is
thirsty.
just like, ooh. She's got you by the you
By
know,
what the pillow's covering.
by what the pillow is covering. Yeah. Dan has nothing. He can only capitulate. That's yeah.
Okay, and one little detail is that there is a drawing on Trixie's door. When Dan goes into her room, he closes the door and you can see a drawing that Trixie has put on her door that says, "Trixie, no boys allowed except Lucifer and Dad."
I know. I
Lucifer is allowed
I
in her
just
room.
love
Ah,
I love how Lucifer, like, I love how much Trixie loves Lucifer, and that we get this, like, sense that even though we may not see it, like, she has seen him, for example, like, in the house, or has seen, they obviously at some point had a conversation where he told her that if she really wanted something, she should just do it.
yeah.
So there's, like, a bit of a sense of the story going on behind the scenes, which I like.
So Dan arrives at Lux. He's wearing a pink tracksuit and monkey slippers, and oh my god, I couldn't help thinking what his face must have looked like when Trixie brought him these clothes, and the utter delight that she must have taken in choosing
Yeah.
these things for. She picked all that stuff totally intentionally.
Hmm.
Because if you go by Chloe's wardrobe, she's got a lot of normal clothes.
So many. And like she is the person who would sleep in the oversized t-shirt, like not the skin tight little like crop top that he has to wear.
And he's wearing the monkey slippers too. And I was just like, Dan, don't you keep a pair of like spare slippers in your car or anything? Or I guess people on the mainland call them flip flops, but
Yes, he does
actually,
now.
actually, now that I think about it, he probably had to take a cab back to
Yes,
Lux. I didn't
because
think
he can
about
drive.
that. That's true.
That's
Oh my
beautiful.
god. So he
I
had to
wonder
get
if
into
anyone has
someone
written
else's
that
car.
fanfic.
Oh, that is too funny.
Of course, it is LA, so I mean, any cabbie is probably just like, okay, don't I want to know? You are into a thing, that's fine. I'll just keep my eyes forward and drive the car.
I'm sure they're used to weird things.
Exactly. It's not even the weirdest thing they saw all day long.
But so he confronts Maze and she asks him, "Did it work? Did you two have sex?" And I have to praise Lizzie Ann Brandt for this part because, oh my god, the look on her face is just amazing. It's just like this
Yeah,
curious slash unhinged slash turned on look. It's so perfect.
it's so perfect. And he's just like, what? Why would you think that was the outcome?
I think he said
Yeah.
something about you can't just smash two people together.
Like Barbies.
Yeah.
And she's like, why not?
But yeah, so while he's lecturing Maze about what the wrongness of this was, he talks himself into the realization that he's supposed to treat his family like a job and work at it too if he wants to get back together with her. But also, I wanted to note that at one point he says, "What the hell did you do to me?" And I was like, "Oh, that's a great question." Because she punched him in the head, and yeah, she's a demon, but I don't know, like I used to watch a lot of UFC, and in reality, unlike in TV, you don't knock someone out and then they're out for like an hour or two or three. They wake up in seconds, or like if it's really bad, they wake up minutes later, or like they have to revive you or something.
Again, traffic in LA we're talking about here, guys. He was passed out for some unknown amount of time.
Yeah, and so if Dan was knocked out for an hour or longer, he probably had a brain injury.
Yes. That will explain some things maybe later on in the show. Uh,
But I love when he threatens to arrest Maze because when the scene first started, I was like, oh, she's in trouble because he's a cop. But then
mhm.
when she lays it out, oh, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna tell people that I knocked you out, stripped you naked, and put you in your ex's bed? I was like, oh my
A
god.
tiny little bartender like me. Oh. And this is also, I think that the contrast here is fantastic because both Maze and Trixie, same manipulative energy.
Yes, yes.
Dan totally unable to do anything about it. He's just like, oh my God, these
which
women have.
which which is like totally when you're first watching this show, you don't realize that they're setting you up so perfectly for when Maze and
Yes.
Trixie finally meet.
And it's, yes. I believe that might even be the next episode.
Oh, yeah. See, it's perfectly set up. I love it.
Yes. Yeah.
So Dan, properly cowed by Maze, reports to Chloe that Lux's books are clean, and she's just arriving at Los Diablos' club. And around the corner, she walks around the corner, and Lucifer's waiting for her there like a stalker.
Yes. Which he calls him out on.
But then he surprises her by apologizing for how he treated Frankie. Said that he needs her help getting his stuff back. She shows him an imprint that they found on the body, and it's shaped like a cross, and then it's like the Los Diablos logo. So they go inside the club, and Lucifer does his Lucifer thing. He
Peak
unplugs the
Lucifer.
jukebox. He goes up on the stage. He calls them village people rejects, and it seems like everybody's ready to kick his ass.
Hmm. Even Chloe a little bit though, I think is ready to kick his ass. Like she's like, "Oh my God, this again. I forgot."
And it's so weird that this is such a thing that is so funny because you'd think as women you would be like, "What an ass! I can't
Mhm.
stand him." And yet it's funny and endearing somehow because she's so irritated, and yet it's cute. I don't know.
Yes.
What is
It's
that?
Tom Ellis. I think it's the Ellis effect. That's the
Like, why aren't we on Chloe's side and being like, ugh, Lucifer? So finally, a biker moves in to punch Lucifer, but Chloe restrains him, and then the boss comes out and apologizes, and he introduces himself as Hank Cutter, and this is Tom Sizemore. And it's
Mhm.
such a small role, so I was kind of surprised, but it was nice to see his face. In the back, he tries to tell Chloe that his club had nothing to do with it, and then when Lucifer uses his power on him, he says that he wants to own a clothing line. He's trying to make his club go legit.
And Chloe's like, "That is not where I thought that was gonna go," which is always, I do love when they manage to really get like Lucifer's power reveals some desire that's totally
Off
not
the wall.
even, yeah, the opposite of what you would think looking at them.
And this kind of has like a cumulative effect on Chloe. Like, why? Like, she finds this very useful because it's not really. I think she realizes that the things that he gets people to say are probably not anything that she would have been able to get them to admit to through any kind of like traditional
Mm-mm,
questioning because they won't. He compels them in a way that she doesn't understand, right?
exactly.
But she ends the interview suddenly, and Lucifer can't believe it. And then she explains outside that, they're going to follow him because the first thing that he's gonna do is go talk to the guy who I guess she
It's
was like
also one of the moments that they have that great banter where he's like, "We're not finished," and she's like, "Yes, we are. We're out." And you're like, "What?"
so they wait in the car and Lucifer is skeptical, but then he does come outside and he leaves, and so they follow him. And then it cuts to Linda and Amenadiel in her office discussing Lucifer, and he's like continuing to like feed her suggestive things to talk about, and he suggests that to treat Lucifer, she should embrace his identity and just treat him like he actually is the devil,
Hmm.
which is an interesting tactic. Why do you think Amenadiel told her to go at that?
Well, I think he is doing a thing where he knows what's going to rattle Lucifer. And it's only going to work if Linda kind of buys into it, I think. And so I mean, he's just being so manipulative
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and actually, it's kind of interesting just thinking about it because so much of this episode hinges on all these little, moments of manipulation, as small as Trixie and the chocolate cake, and then as big as like a Menadiel basically totally lying and manipulating and to try and get Lucifer to go back to hell, which is his ultimate goal, and he doesn't really care what happens to anybody else or who gets hurt, or
yeah,
it's really icky, like, and he's doing it all with this smile on his face and pretending to be Mr. Nice Guy. It's a very I remember watching it the first time and being like, "Oh my God, like this is just a creepy."
yeah. He's the villain of the first
He
half of
is.
season one. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like the angel that we're watching fall in slow motion, basically. And
Mm.
while desperately trying to convince us that he's only doing it for the best, And it's hard to see it that way when you know that he's just doing it full of lying and gross, things that could cost, even some of the things that he's telling Linda, like he doesn't care that it could cost the trust between Linda and Lucifer. He doesn't care. He
Yeah.
just wants what he wants. And he's taking it, which ironically is what Lucifer says you're supposed to do to Trixie. It's
So
complex.
Linda reveals that she thinks that Lucifer is actually struggling with the fact that other people see him as evil, not that he sees himself as evil. And I
Because
thought that was a
Amenadiel says he
yeah,
must see himself as evil.
yeah. But
And
she contradicts that and says that it's this instead. And I really like that she made this observation about him. It
yes,
really shows like her skills, you know.
she's paying attention. Whether
Yeah.
or not she believes the whole devil thing, which she doesn't, she is paying attention to the things that are affecting him and his relationship with the world around him, basically. And in a way that his own brother doesn't and doesn't see at all.
And I found this really endearing for
Hmm.
her. Like it really started to like make me feel a certain way toward Linda because I mean obviously we start off with like Linda as being like this almost like caricature of a therapist
Hmm.
because oh my god she's she's just literally just screwing this guy so that she can
Again, don't sleep with your therapist. It's frowned on.
yeah she's not a good person to start with, but when like it starts getting to this territory we see that she actually does have good insights and she has a good understanding of what he's struggling with as much as he doesn't want to admit it.
And
So
she's
I think
genuinely doing this, like even the stuff that she's taking in what Amenadiel is saying because she genuinely wants to help him. Like
yeah, she
she isn't
cares.
going she isn't going into this to like, get him to do something for her. She's trying to help him figure out this, obvious pain that has led to all of this in her, mind, crazy stories and delusions, right? But yeah, so I really felt in this scene and in this episode that you genuinely see how Linda is caring. Like she does have the best intentions, even though she goes a bit astray because of Amenadiel's manipulation.
Okay, so it goes back to Lucifer and Chloe. They're having a stakeout and another heart to heart, which was really
Mhm.
great.
We love the
Um,
Carhartt to hearts.
yeah, they're so good. But she tells him that the reason she's so upset is that it seems like this is the first time that he's not being honest with her, that he's hiding the contents of this container from her. And when he cracks jokes about, like waving off that, oh, maybe I am a criminal. What do you
Mhm.
care? It's like, hello, she obviously would care. But she gets really serious and she admits to him that she actually really does like working with him. And it seems like this means a lot to him because his demeanor changes and he looks at
Yeah.
her like, and he tells her that he never has and he never will lie to her. So when she asks one more time what's in the container, he says Russian dolls, which was so out there.
Yeah. We're like, okay. Very serious Russian dolls.
But the biker arrives, and it's the guy Rennie who tried to attack Lucifer back at the club. He shoots the guy Hank, and then he leaves. And Chloe gets out to go check on him, and she's like calling on the radio to get backup and get a bus to come help him. In the meantime, Lucifer steals her car
Yeah,
and goes.
Lucifer is on the hunt. Like it's one of those I really love how like obviously Tom Ellis made choices to about, you know, things that Lucifer is like, you know, when he's dead serious and he's on the hunt, like he never runs. He always, but he's like super scary and focused. He doesn't blink. And this is a great scene for that because like if I had that guy following me, I would be scared. It was a
I would
scary,
keep
scary
going.
Lucifer. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's what happens.
Yeah, so Lucifer chases Rennie to a building. Chloe is following with a tracker that's on her car. I guess a patrol
Yeah.
officer showed up when she called for backup, and he drove her to follow her car. And then Lucifer, this was interesting because he's like Rennie shoots at him, and he's not sure if he's gonna get hurt, so he has to take
Yeah.
cover because he doesn't know what is causing him, what caused him to get shot when Chloe shot him.
And it's just annoying to him. He's like, ugh, mortality. Ugh.
But he makes it to the roof just as Chloe arrives, and then he tries to block it off with his heavy barrel, which doesn't stop Lucifer. He just knocks it off and gets up there, and he's really, really pissed. And we rarely see him. I don't know if. I mean, we saw him like this when he was confronting Jimmy, I think, in the first episode.
Yes.
He looks genuinely angry.
Yeah. It's the scariest side of Lucifer that we almost forget.
Hmm.
Like we almost forget that he exists because we have also seen him like, you know, cracking jokes and like playing with crime scene toys. You know, he so we forget that he has the capacity for this kind of scariness and
Yeah, because he's such a
danger.
man child so much of the time,
Yeah,
right? So when he finally is like serious and angry, it's pretty scary. And he does it so well,
I
right?
know. It's because he doesn't blink. It's very scary.
But he flashes his devil eyes at him. He tries to get him to tell him who hired him because the guy Rennie, he admits that he looked and he saw
Mhm.
what was in the container. So this guy knows what's at stake, and
He
he
saw the Russian dolls,
realizes.
you guys. He saw them, all of them.
But yeah, it scares, and then he shows him his devil face, and this scares him so much that he jumps off the roof. That's serious.
Yeah.
That's some serious
And Lucifer's
fear.
distraught by this. Like
Yeah, he
he
screams
actually,
after him, right? He's like, "No, don't!
yeah. And and he says something to Chloe like I couldn't make him stop or something. And like
I
I
couldn't
think this is
stop
like
him" or
one of
something.
yeah, I couldn't stop him. And this is one of those weird one of those moments where I think especially with all the way that it's set up, you know, where we're seeing these flashes of therapy and we're seeing, you know,
Hmm.
him taking the job at least seriously enough to avoid Britney's and go to the job. I suspect that this is a bit of a, um, you know, he feels strange about the fact that he feels strange
Yeah,
that this
yeah.
guy jumped off the roof. But yeah, he clearly is not happy that this is the way that this scene played out. And I think it's not just because he wanted to get information from the guy.
It's kind of like when a kid is like doing something and they do it a little too hard and they didn't mean to break it, but oops,
Yeah,
I did, and oh,
yeah,
now it's broken and I can't fix
hmm
it. Oh my god.
yeah,
Because yeah, I think he just wanted to scare him into telling him who had his stuff.
exactly.
I don't think
Yeah,
he intended for him to like jump off that roof and die. So
no,
yeah, so in the aftermath, Chloe explains to Lucifer that the guy Cutter is going to survive the gunshot, which I guess Rainey is not very good at taking out his former boss. Or maybe it's just that Chloe was there to bring an ambulance.
or maybe I mean the guy like was in a maybe he was like wearing a vest or something.
It hit his belt buckle, and he was
Oh
spared
yeah,
from the worst of it.
oh yes, belt buckle. Well, that is a bad shot, unless I mean at point blank range.
But she also reveals that they recovered Lucifer's container. And I guess that's where the guy was running to. He was running to where they were storing the container. I guess it was like some
Mm,
kind of like uh evil layer where he was it looked like a
yes,
factory, some kind of maybe
yeah.
textiles or something. I don't know. There was like or a bakery. I don't know.
Miscellaneous factory.
Yeah.
They're just all over the place.
But Chloe is like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna open your container now," because
I
she
also think it's
has
funny that she literally helps him open the container. Like she doesn't even trust him to open the box without.
yeah. But she does open it, and oh my god, there are rushing dolls. And I when I first saw this, I was like, "Huh?" I was like,
I guess
"Why?"
possible deniability is important.
I was like, "Why are these here in this?" This is like literally the only item. Like I was so baffled. But I mean, they quickly distract because Chloe just conveniently, of course, just walks off. Like, "Oh,
Mhm.
you did tell me the truth. Okay, bye."
Yep.
But she leaves him, and then he opens a hidden compartment in the back, and he finds that whatever was there is gone.
Yep.
I don't think I knew at this point what it was either. I'm not sure. I don't think I
I don't
did
think
though.
I don't think I did. I don't think I did. And I'm thinking of because
And I don't think
it,
we're meant to. I think we're supposed
hmm,
not supposed to know until the very last scene, right? So
yeah,
I think they
yeah,
properly hid it where I
hmm,
didn't know. So and especially just being thrown off by the Russian dolls, I was just like I'm so
yes,
confused. But so it goes back to Chloe's house. It's Taco Tuesday, and so they're making and oh my god, their Taco Tuesday looks really good.
I know.
I know they're making like fresh salsa and everything. I was like, oh, I want to come.
But I also want to know why. Like, I think it's such a strange thing to notice. But I'm like, she holds her knife so weird while
Oh,
she's
I didn't notice anything. Why? What?
like,
How was she holding it?
it's just it just doesn't look like how like it's a very. She just looks like she's not really cutting something with the knife. I don't know.
It's because it was already chopped, Tara.
I know.
Lauren German did not go to chef acting school.
Apparently, I just so both my siblings are or have been cooks, and so like when I see people holding knives really weird, I'm just like, no, that's not correct. Even I know that's not how you use a knife to cut something.
But Dan arrives, and so this is kind of a sweet moment. You know, he's trying. He's learned something from this episode too, and he's got cake for Trixie because he's gonna
Hmm.
pay up.
For a year.
Ah, Trixie. But yeah, so it goes to a late night session with Linda, and she's glad he's back. And he asks about the items, and she says earlier that he wasn't that concerned about them, but he seems very upset now that they're gone. And she makes the observation, and she's embracing Amenadiel's idea of actually just treating Lucifer like he is Lucifer. And
Yeah.
this is where I just didn't really like what she was doing just because of the way her delivery was. And I think that's intentional by the
Yes.
showrunners and the writers and stuff. But basically, she's bringing up who he is. He's Samael, the Lightbringer. And then she starts talking to
I
him
just
about. hell and
One thing I have to say is that Samael doesn't mean light bringer. Lucifer means light bringer.
yeah, yeah.
Samael means poison of God.
Oh.
So yeah. I just gotta be out there for the because the name Lucifer chose for himself was Lightbringer,
Mhm.
not not poison, which I mean rude. Like, hi, this is my daughter Arsenic. Like, no.
But so she did have some really good things to say
Yes.
that I like. Like she says, sometimes we need to lose something before we can understand its value, which very true. And she says, often our feelings of loss connect to how we feel about who we are. And I like these things, but then she starts going into the whole thing about God didn't cast you out of heaven because he was angry with you. And it's just the way that she delivers it. It's almost like she's speaking with Amenadiel's voice, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
he's definitely speaking through her, and it was so aggravating to hear because she sounds smug and presumptuous and overconfident, and it was very grating, I felt.
Yeah, and it's also I feel like the interesting thing about it too is we as the audience we can see how distraught Lucifer is by
With everything that she's
with
saying.
everything she's saying, and not in his sort of like typical, not even the way he was distraught earlier. Like
Yeah.
it's like this is kind of digging right into the soft
Yeah.
places.
And pouring
So
salt on it too.
I'm pouring salt on it, and and also and also just very like, I know that, and I think that part of it is that Linda doesn't believe that
Yeah. Yeah.
Lucifer is really the devil.
She's
So
just playing a
Lucifer,
role, right?
she doesn't, so when she's saying this, like, your father gave you a gift, um, she wouldn't say that to someone
If
who
it was the
came to
truth.
her if it was the truth. Like, oh, your dad put you in a box. Like, what? You wouldn't say that to somebody.
Yeah.
But she thinks like it's one of those places where her lack of knowledge, ironically, because
Mhm.
he kind of calls her on her lack of understanding, is causing more harm than it's fixing. And it also highlights some of those like weird theological questions that people often ask about this
Yeah.
exact thing, which is like, what? How, if God did create everything, how come he created that and did that? Like, where is the rebelliousness? And so it's a very meaty kind of conversation that they have. But the
Yeah.
fact that she kind of ignores how really distressed he is.
And how much she's hurting him by saying these
Yeah.
things, because you
Mhm.
can see that. And
Yeah.
you can't just see it, you can feel it, because like I said, like the things that she's saying just sound really offensive, and you can really put yourself, especially as he's getting angry too, you can feel yourself
Yeah.
getting angry for him
Mhm.
and
And
with
hurt. Like
him.
he starts off so hurt,
Yeah.
and I because he tries in the very. It's such a interesting like mini. You get a full view of like Lucifer as a character arc kind of happening in this scene. He starts off by trying to make jokes about it. Like, oh, you've been brushing up on your Sunday school kind of thing, and then she keeps pushing to the point where he can't even make jokes about it, which and then becomes this, he gets from there that hurtness. He gets angry, but it's not even really anger at her. It's not like transference or any of it's like
The injustice of what was
the
done to him,
injustice.
right? And the
Yeah.
fact that she's saying that it was a gift, that he
Hmm.
was given this job because he was the favorite son. It's
Yeah.
just, oh my god, it's just,
It's like when you say so, like, say to somebody who,
I hate you
you know,
because I love you.
yeah, or like, oh, everything happens for a reason to like the person who just like had a stillborn baby or something. Like you don't
Yeah.
say that to people. It's not my God. It may
It's
it just
re-traumatizing them.
it is. It is. And I think that's why this scene feels so. hard with Linda is that we know that she's only doing this because she thinks it'll help, but at the same
Yeah.
time, all she's doing because of Amenadiel's influence is
Yeah.
re-traumatizing him in
Yeah.
this really major way.
Because yeah,
And we see it.
he blurts out, like one of the things that has bothered him so much is that everyone that gets sent to hell blame, or even people who are still
Yeah.
on earth, they all blame him for the bad things they do. They say that the devil made them do it, that the devil forces them to commit acts, and he cannot stand. And this goes back to what Linda honed in on, that she understands that he is struggling with the fact that other people see him as evil, and it's
Yes.
like
But he
he's
doesn't feel evil. He doesn't, or at
yeah.
least I think he doesn't want to see himself as evil. It also makes me wonder. I think that this is part of why his reaction after the guy jumps off the roof
Uh-huh.
is because on some level, I think he does wonder if he made him do it. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like, so I think even the fact that he says this line here afterwards is like he's trying to not, like he's trying to,
It scares him, I
yeah,
think.
because he doesn't want to be that person.
So the line that the whole paragraph, he says, "Why do they blame me for all their little feelings?" He says, "I have never made any one of them do anything, never." So that's actually, I like I said, I went back and I looked at the comics. That's actually a fairly accurate quote, pulled almost word for word from the comic. It's in the
Yeah.
first issue in season of, not the first issue in Season of Mist, but it's in Season of Mist in the first appearance of Lucifer.
Yes.
And basically in the comics, he's closing down hell as Morpheus or Sandman goes to talk to him, and in the process, that this is part of the reason why he's
Hmm.
venting at Morpheus about why he's closing down hell. He's just fed up. This is his retirement before he goes to LA and founds Lux and stuff like that. So,
Yes.
but I thought that was really cool that it was so well written that they basically pulled it and put it in the
Hmm.
show, and it made for such a powerful scene. So I love it.
Yeah. And especially because, like, in this, like, even though it's almost the exact same words, it's delivered in a very different
Yeah,
way. Um, because comics Lucifer is kind of like
he's like out.
resigned and
Yeah, he's like, I don't care anymore. I'm
yeah.
leaving. This
Whereas this
sucks.
is like the most we've seen Lucifer care about
Yeah,
something is him
yeah.
saying this line.
And his
Um,
delivery, Tom
so
Ellis's
good.
delivery is so good.
Yeah.
Like you can hear all the pain and injustice
Yeah.
and how upset he is. But yeah, so Linda pushes him a little too hard by driving home the idea that, and this part is, and they did a really good job in building the tension of the scene,
Yes.
because the way that she keeps aggravating him and then
Hmm.
ends with this, "Oh, you can rise," it just sounded so
The whole thing is
stupidly.
so victim blamey and
I
like
know.
it's so upsetting.
And it's funny because like you can feel your own anger on his behalf rising
Mhm.
for him.
Yes.
And then oh my god, he turns around and punches a hole straight through her wall.
Yes.
And yeah.
And
And
it's
he
like a concrete wall, I think, because he appears to have like concrete dust on his hands.
or
Like it's a
it might be drywall. But still,
he
he
punches
does
his hand
serious
through a wall. Yeah.
damage. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he screams because they stole them from me. And so that gives us a hint. And I think that this is where you're supposed to realize, because the next scene is him on the balcony on Lux, and he's shirtless, and they show us his scars, which we haven't seen since uh
Episode 4.
yeah.
Yeah.
But Maze comes up
The
behind
berries are
him and
ripe.
yeah, that's right. But he reveals that what was stolen from him were his wings, and then they intersperse it with like the actual like wings that are, I guess, apparently being showcased in some person who we have yet to learn who, some
Yeah.
person's home, and it's still got his flesh on it.
And they're so beautiful.
They
Like
are, they're
they're
stunning,
so beautiful.
and they're white too. I think
Hmm.
that's what surprised me, because I had gone in with very little knowledge, I think,
Hmm.
and like I knew it was based on the comics, but I didn't know what they were gonna do. And since
Yeah.
Tom Ellis is always wearing black by this point. I kind of just thought they were going to be black, but I was really surprised when they were white and they were so pretty.
Yeah. They're filled with light.
But yeah, that's basically it. It was a fantastic episode. I love this
It
one.
really was. Like I think this episode is one where they really start to like dig into sort of the mythology and the lore and the
And his psyche.
theology and then his psyche. Like it's so I mean, I think the thing that really hooked me right from the beginning and then kept me coming back was that, Lucifer certainly, but all the characters on some level have so much happening under the
Hmm.
surface. And the more the show kind of digs into it, the more we start to really see how all of these, you know, bits of psychology play together in really awesome ways because there's the conflict between the person themselves and then with others, and it's really good.
So meaty.
I know.
And it's woven so nicely too. Like you said, like the
Hmm.
Trixie thing and
Oh,
like Lucifer thing. It's like such a nice parallel. I love it.
hmm. And again, like everybody manipulating except Lucifer. Like
Yeah.
Lucifer's not really trying to manipulate anything or get his way with
Meanwhile,
anything.
he's the one who always has that reputation, and
Yeah.
that's like the crux of his.
Which also is because that's, Amenadiel through Linda is manipulating him in that final scene really masterfully. And it's so contrary to what Linda herself would really want to do.
Hmm.
I mean, I imagine that when she looks back later after she learns all that she learns,
Hmm.
she feels really bad about this moment.
And I mean, I think it's also worth pointing out that at this point, Lucifer has no idea that Amenadiel is in the picture whispering
No.
in Linda's ear. So he just, from his perspective, this is just yet another person who's like digging into him and piling on and making him feel like crap.
And totally not understanding him.
Yeah.
Totally not understanding him.
Yeah.
And like he truly believes at this point, you know, of course they're going to think, of course they're going to side with his father. Of course they're going to
Hmm.
think that he is the evil one. And
And
I think that feels like a betrayal.
yeah, and really, it's just a glimpse of what he has to put up with because she's just one person,
Yeah.
and yet everybody treats him like this. Everybody
Hmm.
views him like this. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
like a incredible burden that he has to
Yeah.
bear, that's kind of heartbreaking. So.
I think this is also the first time we get the sense because in some of I remember mentioning it in some of the earlier episodes, it's like they hadn't quite decided what the mythology of
Hmm.
hell was yet. But this episode, he actually says that he had to provide a place for humans to punish themselves.
Hmm.
And so and that actually lingers, I think, throughout where that bit of show lore goes, like from here on out. And you start to that too is like he's not even the punisher. He's like the person who has to stand there and watch people,
Warden.
yeah, hurt themselves over and over and never stop it, right? So, foreshadowing.
All right, we're gonna get to our rewatch list. Couch watch. The couch is still the same. It's a beige striped couch with buttons.
Feel like it's going to change soon.
Yeah.
Feel like we're coming up to couch change.
Devil face. We can add Rennie the biker. So by this point, it's one, two, three, four, five people. Almost a person an episode in this season
Hmm.
so far. So actually, no, there is one person I forgot to this. The preacher. He shows him his face too. The street preacher.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So six people in six episodes. That's about one per episode.
Keep her locked down, Lucifer. Jeez.
The title line is said by Linda in that final
Hmm.
session. Chest hair watch. He is completely smooth.
Completely.
Baby
He's just
smooth.
been waxed. Yes. Straight from the waxer.
Okay, LuciTunes. Like we mentioned, Tom Ellis is singing Cinnamon in the opening. Then there's Black Cloud by Mr. Rudy Day. That's when Maze brings Lucifer the Britneys. I don't really remember that one off the top of my head. There's Nothing to Lose by Dead Right. That's when Dan meets
Hmm.
Maze. And the most memorable one from this episode is The Day is My Enemy by The Prodigy. That's when Lucifer does his car
Yeah.
chase. It just starts off really suddenly and it's really loud, but I don't know.
Yes.
I thought it fit. It was good. I don't know how to pronounce this one.
Me neither.
It's
Ugh.
ZBBL by Churches. I
Yeah.
don't know how to pronounce that. Is that a Roman numeral?
Maybe since churches has a V for their U, it's just Zool.
Zool? Okay, maybe. We'll go with that.
Like like churches is just sticking it to Latin. Like I don't know. That's yeah. It is a good song though, and
Yeah, yeah. That's
it
at the
ends
end.
the
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, let's get to the good, the bad, and the crispy. My good is Chloe saying, "I need your help, like I need a third boob." I love that. That's amazing.
Yes. I think my good is basically that Lucifer's line about I have never lied to you and I will never lie to you, that
Mm,
it kind of caps that whole,
heart to heart.
heart to heart car scene that where all the magic happens in this show.
All right, my bad is from Rennie at the club after Lucifer's up on stage and he's talking to them. He says, "What the hell did you just say? Harry Potter?"
Oh my God, burn. Sick burn.
That joke landed flatter than a sat on pancake. I mean, when he said it, I was like, what the hell does that mean? And I was like, oh, because he's British?
Yeah, it doesn't that bit is also my bad because I was like, this is
It's so cringe. It's so
it's
bad.
so cringe. And even like what when did 2016, like at that point it's still like it's like this is the most relevant insult you could think up. Like,
Plus, like, I
how
mean,
dare
Harry
you
Potter.
be British?
Is that like the only British person this guy knows? Harry, and plus
Yeah.
Harry's a child, so
Yes.
it's
And I
just
feel
it,
like if you're gonna call somebody Harry Potter and they're not wearing round glasses, you're just like missing the mark. Like
yeah,
that's the Harry Potter. It's not his Britishness. Like, come on. It's just
yeah.
sorry.
His joke
Sorry,
went,
writers. It was a
"Ew."
bad joke.
That was bad. Okay, crispy. It's Trixie saying, "Lucifer said if you really want to do something, you should." She really wanted some chocolate cake.
Yeah. She is so I mean, I feel like Trixie is always like the best part of everything. But I also really have to say my crispy is the kind of character arc work that starts to happen through the various therapy scenes. Not just for Lucifer, also Linda's character and Amenadiel's, and how everything is a glorious mess that you just know is gonna blow up in their faces. Can't wait. So
Can't wait.
crispy.
All right. When we come back, we'll have a brand new Lucy quiz for you and Tara to take.
Scared.
Okay, we're back with a new Lucy quiz this week. You can check out our social media accounts for a bonus question this weekend. The way this works is I'm going to ask Tara 5 questions of increasing difficulty about the episode we just discussed, and you will have 5 seconds to come up with an answer. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
First question. By the way, I had to rearrange these questions by difficulty so many times, so I don't know if I hit the mark on this. I kept changing my mind about what was easy and what was not. Okay, so question 1. What band is on the front of the shirt Trixie gets for Dan?
I knew you were going to ask this. Is it Britney Spears?
No, it's
Uh,
In Sync.
In Sync. That's right, boy band.
All right. Question 2. Which book in the Bible does Amenadiel reference to Linda?
Corinthians.
Oh, correct. Good
I thank
job.
you for not asking the chapter and verse.
It was chapter 11, verse 14, by the way.
Okay.
And I only know that because I had to Google it and click on like 5 different links before I found the right one. So
Nice. Nice.
I cheated. All right, question 3. What flavor? See, this is what I'm talking about. Where I changed my mind a lot. What flavor does Lucifer eat from the shave ice truck?
He eats cherry.
Cherry. Okay,
He ordered a different,
Extra credit. What did he order before pulling Frankie out of the van?
it's like tropical tornado or something.
It's Tropic
Tropics.
Wonder.
Wonder.
Very
A
close though.
wonder is a tornado, sure.
All right, question 4. Where was Lucifer's container housed?
The docks?
In
I don't know.
It was Long Beach.
Oh, Long Beach.
And I only got that because that's what Chloe says when she gets the phone call about the murder. She says, "Oh, Long
Right.
Beach? Okay." So, yeah.
I was going to say that, and then I was like, I didn't think that was specific enough.
All right, question 5. Hardest question. Which of his brothers does Lucifer mention in this episode?
He mentions Uriel,
Okay, you got it.
which
Should I have made that question 3?
no, I think it's a good one. It's just that Uriel lives rent free in my head for reasons that we'll
uh,
discuss when that episode happens. But yeah, enduring Uriel's welcome speech is what he says in this episode.
yeah.
Nice questions.
Oh, good job. You have any last thoughts before we close out?
No, I you know what's funny is I thought for some reason I forgot which episode this was, and I thought it was a different one that I didn't like as well. And
Actually,
so
me
I was
too. I thought it was the
did you
auction one for some
Oh, I thought
reason.
it was like I thought it was the one, and of course now I know that I think it was I thought it was the one that was like the restaurant with the dad and the son where the dad dies. It's a season 2 episode, but I
Oh.
like Hector's or something like that. And I was like, but then I started watching, it was like, oh right, this is the beginning of the wings.
No, I thought Hector's was Pops. Oh?
Hops. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It
coming up.
is.
It's
Is
coming
it
up
this
in like
season?
2 episodes? Yeah.
Oh, anyways, that was the one that I thought it was.
Ah. Alrighty, if you are enjoying Rom-Com Detectives, be sure to leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. For our question of the week, you can leave us a comment on Spotify, YouTube, or Reddit and tell us why you think Lucifer had those Russian dolls in his container. I don't know.
Don't come between a man and his Russian dolls, I tell ya.
I thought it was amusing when Chloe opens it. And she's like, I was like, oh my god, is she gonna literally open all of them right here?
Like she was absolutely looking for drugs in those Russian dolls. 100%.
Which is funny because he never hides the fact that he does drugs from her.
No, he wouldn't lock up his cocaine. It would just be sitting on the kitchen table.
Exactly. Ah, if you'd like to join additional conversations about Lucifer, you can visit the Lucifer subreddit at reddit.com/r/Lucifer. To contact me and Tara, email us at host@romcomdetectives.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Threads, or Blue Sky at romcomdetectives, or leave us a voicemail or text message at 1-650-733-XOXO or 9696. And I just want to mention that this phone number and voicemail box is for us to play things or your thoughts on our show. So if you want to call in, it will be for our next episode. So yeah, that's what that's there for. This episode of Rom-Com Detectives was recorded on May 31st, 2025. Rom-Com Detectives, Lucifer Unit, is co-hosted by Krista Watanabe and Tara Avery and is produced by Pico's House. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you guys next time for our breakdown of Wingman.
Oh, Ringman. I actually really like this episode, so I'm looking forward to it.
Okay,
All
bye.
right, bye.